Alright then. So welcome to the Gateshead Engine. We'll be using the tarot modification rules that I came up with a couple streams ago. Essentially, there's a block of Uno cards to represent the major arcana, and the minor arcana are a standard deck of cards. Well, in the minor arcana, there's an extra set of face cards, so I'm using the jokers for those, plus 2 Uno cards. But otherwise, the Uno cards mean the major arcana. I have a reference document pulled up on my screen, so don't worry, I won't get lost. If you're confused, ask, and I'll explain again. But we need to figure out how to shuffle these. I think I'm just going to take some chunks of Uno cards and shove them into the deck, like so, and we'll just kind of shuffle them in a standard way and hope they get shuffled enough. Kind of just shuffle them in the same way you would, like, you know, any group of cards. Take a chunk of them from the back, drop a few, and so on. What I should have done was intersperse these Uno cards once in a while with the, hang on, let's pick out the Uno cards again. And let's, while we're shuffling them like that, since it's drop a few cards in, we'll just drop a few of the Uno cards in as we're shuffling the rest of the deck as normal. Large brain over here. But if you're curious, these are the two cards that make up the pieces of the minor arcana that are missing. But why don't you use tarot cards? Because I don't want to use tarot cards. I don't have any tarot cards, and this is more accessible to me. And I didn't want to throw together a program to spit tarot cards out at me in case it didn't work. And I didn't want to go download something, so here we are. I personally, I feel like a standard deck of cards plus some Uno cards is a lot more accessible than a deck of tarot cards, but I don't know your life. Maybe you have many decks of tarot cards and just like one deck of standard cards and no Uno cards. But this is more accessible to me, so that's why I'm doing it the way I am. So what we're going to do to shuffle here is we're going to shuffle, you know, standard deck of cards, and then every time we drop 2 or 3 cards, we'll drop in an Uno card and keep going. And that makes for shuffling to take a while, but it's not the end of the world. We really only have to shuffle it for a little while. These don't need to be perfectly random after all. They just need to be random enough to let us tell our story. I've noticed that the Twitch, the plugin that OBS uses to access Twitch chat now has a new chats marker, so like as you're typing, this will count. It'll keep track of who's typed more recently. You know, there's a little like red new line at the top of the chat right now because it's empty, but I like it. But hopefully this shuffling won't take much longer so we can actually get into the game. I was going to shuffle these before stream, but I don't know, I felt like it needed doing on stream for some reason. I think part of it's just because the Uno cards are a slightly smaller size, and I wanted to make sure that if someone bumped into the same problem, they could fix it themselves too. But I mean, if you get playing cards that are the same size as Uno cards, this works perfectly. If you ask me anyway, so. But eventually, at some point, speaking of tabletop games, I would like to... Hang on, that wasn't very good. Sure, cool. At some point, I would like to sit down and actually play some Hanafuda, maybe on stream. Like with the physical Hanafuda tiles I have. I got like a nice replica set of them. Of the ones that Nintendo makes. But we'll just give this a few more cursory tosses, just to shuffle it up a little better. And then we'll actually get started in on Gateshead Engine. I don't know, I'm really excited about this game because it was one of the few single-player tabletop games that I have not really been able to put a ton of time into yet on stream, so it's kind of neat. What I'm hoping doesn't happen is there's like some kind of weird weighting effect with the Uno cards weighing less, so they all wind up being in the same place. Which would kind of throw a wrench in my whole conceit here. Anyway, let's get started. We got our deck of tarot cards. I've got my reference sheet here, and I've got the rules. So, to play, you'll need the following: a deck of tarot cards, a notebook and pen, and a candle or glass lantern to write by. Gas lantern to write by. Well, instead of a notebook and pen, we're recording it like so, which is a little more suited to the, at least I would say, to the setting we're using here, because Gateshead Engine is designed to work in like a Victorian England type setting. But I'm not very good at steampunk, so I'm gonna set it in. I'm gonna set it in the here and now. So, the Gateshead Engine is a hack of Alone Among the Stars by Takuma Okada. There's a link there. I'll probably link Gateshead Engine actually at the end of the stream. Anyway, before beginning play, answer the following questions: who are you, and why did you agree to build the engine? Let's say our character name is Charles Dodley, and we agreed to build the engine because we're a very prideful engineer who desires to show off their skill as much as possible. And our patron is, let's say a fake corporation called Schmasex. That's definitely not a real corporation run by a real person, and we don't know much about them outside of the fact that it is a corporation run by a very rich man who wants to do very strange things with his money. And they want the engine because they are, quote, a Gundam fan, and that's all we know. What is our community like? We're out in the middle of the Arizona desert, let's say. This rich man does not want anyone knowing about the fact that he is having a mech commissioned by a single engineer. Being a desert people, they are very fearful of anyone new rolling in that seems to be working on a weird project, especially like in Arizona where, weird bomb projects happen all the time. So they're very scared of me, random person living out in a machine shop in the middle of nowhere, who could be building goddesses know what. That's the community. And what will the engine do when it's completed, and what will it change? So obviously the engine will be a giant robot. What's the giant robot for? We're not sure what it's for. We're gonna build it as though it is just a rich man's, transformable plane, but it might evolve into something terrifying over the course of the game. It says sketch up rough plan for your engine on the first page of your notebook. I don't want to open MS Paint and try to draw on the fly. So instead we're just going to verbally sketch the plan for the engine. I think the engine is going to be a large, not bipedal robot, but tripedal robot. It's got 3 legs, so we don't have to worry about the balance problem as much. It's got 3 large legs, and they're all very well articulated. They move a lot, and so it takes a long time for this thing to take a step, because it's like, it's got to like ratchet all the things into being able to move, and then stop, and then move again, so it'll actually support the engine. I think it is otherwise from like the torso up humanoid, just to make it easier for the person to run. You know, the owner of SpaceX are clearly not a real corporation. TM. It's just to walk around. It's got like a jetpack unit on the back so it can fly around, but it's otherwise just designed for travel for now. Okay, that's the setup questions. Okay, to begin, draw a card. Minor Arcana represent developments or complications you may encounter as you build the engine. The suit and value determine what happens. Major Arcana represent major events or problems, and there's a list of meanings below. After we draw a card, we rattle off an entry in the diary. We begin with the day and then recount what happened and how you reacted, and make the entrance as long as it needs to be, from a single sentence to a few pages. When you're done, draw another card, write another entry. Play until you finish the engine or decide that you want to stop. If your creation gives you hope, keep the diary. If what you built frightens you, burn it. Okay, well, we can't really burn it. I can decide to post the video or not, depending on how this comes out. To lean in on theme. But we draw a card. First card is the Queen of Clubs, which is actually the Queen of Swords. So immediately we are tempted by something. And the Queen of Swords means we are tempted by authority. Your patron, industry, aristocracy, the crown. Almost immediately as we start, like, you know, hacking things together, we're like, assorted engineering sounds. We start to work in earnest on this giant machine, and our patron, Bleelon Blusk, shows up to the remote Arizona town and says to us, well, could you perhaps make it a bit more of a weapon? And we are tempted by the authority of this man who signs all of our paychecks to include weapons, and we have to sit for a long time and consider, well, if I attach weapons to this thing, it's now become a giant warmongering tank. Do I want to do that? Is that something I'm willing to put up with? And after a great deal of consideration, we come to the realization that our patron here has not decided what sort of weapons are permissible for use here, so we decided to pick all strictly non-lethal weapons. You know, it seeps out sleeping gas. It blinks a light in your face or something, like stuff that will hurt and will incapacitate you, but it will not outright kill someone, and it is unlikely that you can change the functioning of the engine to make it kill people. Okay, so that was day one. We had already started banging on things and working on stuff, and then we had to change our design almost immediately for the temptation of more money. Okay. We draw our next card. Day 2 is the Jack of... The Jack of Hearts is the Cups. The Jack of Cups are community. So what does the Jack do? I guess the Knight here in Tarot Land, but it's a Jack. a discovery. We discover something about the community. So we're out getting groceries. We're out on a grocery run because we realized that there was no food stocked in our remote machine shop that we're building this, I guess, hangar that we're building this thing in. And we realized, oh yeah, I need food to eat. So we head out into the nearby Arizona community. We need to come up with a name for this Arizona community. Let's say Belle Blue. So let me write some details in the chat here. We work for Schmace X and are working in Bluebell, Arizona. And our name is Charles Dodley. So we venture into the town of Bluebell, or Arizona, and realize that, hey, there's actually a town here. It's not just like 5 people in the middle of a desert. It's actually like a proper small town. There's a Walmart and like a record store, because apparently they like old music here. Yes, that's a decision that I've made just now. There's a record store and a Walmart and a dance hall, because you can use a dance hall for many a thing. It's not always just dances. And while we're getting groceries in the local Walmart, we overhear someone talking about what's gonna happen in the dance hall tonight. And they're like, yeah, well, I didn't think I was gonna let Timothy go to the dance hall tonight for one of those newfangled, who's that? I'm a zombie. Welcome to the igloo. Very glad to have you. Excited you're here. Ooh, I'm using your name as part of the story now. I wasn't gonna let Timothy go to the fake zombie, the fake zombie drill at the dance hall tonight, but all of his friends are gonna do it, and I don't know. And like this person carries on about the fake zombie thing at the dance hall, and the cashier is like major glazed over retail face, like yeah, that sounds great. Please swipe your card. And then the gal is still rattling on the whole time, like waving her card around to describe all of the shenanigans that are going to occur in the zombie drill in the dance hall. And I'm like looking down at my watch, like, do I have enough time to, like, is it worth it? Like looking around at the other lines for the cashiers, like, is it worth it to go to the other line while this lady continues to rattle on? And finally she pays for her groceries and carries on. But the fact that took forever, just it just makes that incident stick in my mind. And now I'm like, well, now I want to figure out if there's cool things happening in the dance hall. And we remember that there may be cool things happening in the dance hall, and that's what we discovered about the community for today. So the sun sets and the sun rises on another day of work, and we realize that what's going to happen today, the 10 of Spades is the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands is progress on myself. I awaken very immediately after a late night of continuing to work on this project. I almost immediately fell into that sort of, I can't reach the next stopping point until I do this and that and this, and I was up many hours into the night, and I awaken deeply jet-lagged for my effort, and realize that I need to take care of myself a little bit, or I'm never going to finish this engine in time. And so I'm like, all right, I need to make some progress on myself here. So I set awakening and sleeping hours, only to be broken in cases of dire emergency or something actually cool happening at the dance hall, like that zombie drill that we missed out on the other day. but otherwise we need to set a sleep schedule and stick to it. Otherwise we're going to go completely crazy working on this engine, and that won't do. That's a bad. The last thing I need is to be engineering a giant wandering sleep gassing machine while I'm half asleep. And that's the major point of our day. We obviously continue to make progress on our mysterious engine. We've started to design the interlocking leg mechanism so it's very easy to turn off and on, but it won't let the thing collapse in on itself. We've made some progress there, made some progress here and there on engineering new things and like wrangling off-the-shelf stuff. And finally we look at the clock and it is time to go to sleep, and we go to sleep. And then the next day comes and we hit our first major arcana. This one, the eight of blue, because it's an Uno card. That is the sun. So this is a major event. The sun means word of your project has spread to someone who shouldn't have found out about it. So, Bleelan Blusk, our patron here, who runs SchmaceX and has been paying our paychecks, lets something slip in a meeting, and he was hoping that this... Well, we were hoping that this wouldn't get out to the U.S. military because we didn't want to make, a military machine. We wanted to make something cool that just wanders around and shoots novelty lights places and stuff. But something let slip in a meeting, and the military types hear about our terrifying engine that we've been building out in the desert, and while we're working on something particularly delicate, open goes the door in a loud fashion, and in strides this military man who's very full of himself, and he walks like this for some reason, I don't know. He's marching way too hard. And he says, "Now, son, I can't believe that I was not letting on this. This is the foremost, from what I've seen of your plans, this is the foremost weapon of war I have seen in many of my years." And he rattles on about how important this is, that I finish it, but leave space for weapons for the military. And the whole time we as the engineer are trying to resist the urge to let our eyes roll out of our head and across the shop floor, because this wasn't supposed to be a military operation and he has no authority here. And then at the very end he says, "Oh yes, I also sign the paychecks of the person who's signing your paychecks, so you'd better do what I say or I'm going to imperil your project's funding." And we go, "Ugh!" And we shake our fist at the man as he leaves through the closing door and hope he doesn't notice, and begrudgingly leave space for assorted weaponry, because we know that if we don't leave those open spaces there, we're in a lot of trouble. And as frustrating as it is to have that occur to us, we still sleep restlessly, but we sleep nonetheless. Ooh, and the next day dawns, and we have another major event. This is the Chariot, is this card. Is the red 6. The Chariot, you go on holiday. When you come back, it's with a new perspective. We've only been here for a little while, but we realize that, the project changing direction so suddenly really has taken a lot out of us. So we take the good deal of money we've been saving up here, and we take a break. We go to what's a tourist attraction near Arizona? I guess Las Vegas is in Nevada. Is Nevada and Arizona are in that same sort of desert bubble? I don't think Las Vegas. You know what? Let's go say Roswell. We go to Roswell because we're like, aliens are neat. That'll be a good time. So we putter on over to Roswell. Arizona and New Mexico are near each other, right? They're also in that same area. But regardless, it makes it, even if it's farther away, it makes for a better vacation. So we putz on over to Roswell, and we look at all the cool tourist trap stuff, and we marvel about the concept of alien technology making its way into our machine here, and hope that for some reason something like that would happen. As cool as it would be. And we wonder, is that gonna happen? And then we return from our vacation and come back, and we realize that we are refreshed and ready to go. And the next day that we get to work is the Hanged Man. What's that do? The Hanged Man. The project requires a major sacrifice to succeed. We get back from our vacation here, and we realize that, oh no, we took way too long of a vacation. So despite our previous personal growth in recognizing that we need to have a better sleep schedule, we immediately realize we're a long way behind on time, and so we throw our sleep out the window again and continue to make effort, and make effort way too much. Indeed we do. And it takes its toll upon us. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into the machine as we continue to, pound away. The people of Bluebell get increasingly concerned as we get more and more hermit-like working on this thing. And it's genuinely, I would certainly be unsettled if it were happening right outside my front door too, so I don't blame them. And eventually, the next major event occurs in our timeline here. This is the 7 is Strength. What's that one do? Strength. You boost the engine's effect, making it bigger, stronger, smarter, or more dangerous. So throughout all of our late nights here, we realize that we've accidentally machined some pieces too big or too forcefully, and so it both gets larger and stronger, despite being, despite dwarfing some small skyscrapers in size at the end goal. It's now just absurdly large. The legs are really beefy. They can now stomp on things instead of just walking. It's genuinely pretty scary. This is getting more and more weapon-like as we go, and we don't notice how much more weapon-like it is because we're so tired from overworking ourselves, and the fact that we already recognize that somebody's going to want to weaponize this, so why hold back if the money's so good? And just over time, the engine continues to sprawl out of control until we reach our next major event. This is the wild card. This is not the draw force, so we know that this is the Fool. The Fool sure does do something. So, the Fool. The prompt for the Fool is it thinks. It speaks. We late into the night, we are rattling off programming code for this thing, and we're just we're not a programmer, we're an engineer, so we're just kind of bashing pieces together we found on the internet. And one night we've dug very far into the internet, onto old message boards and web rings and stuff, and eventually we find a piece of code labeled "Do not run, dangerous," and we go, dangerous, huh? That sounds neat. And we put it into the code that is the brain, the thinking bits of this machine, and for a few moments nothing happens. There is a pregnant silence that rings throughout the hangar. And we're very tense. We're waiting for it to start sparking and smoking and generally breaking and costing everyone more money. And as we're holding our breath, we hear zzz, zzz, assorted servos moving something. We look around the hangar to find that the security camera up in the right corner that our patron has been using to keep an eye on proceedings has now moved and is staring at us directly in the eyes. And we go, and we kind of have that moment of, oh no. And then we look over at the computer. We hear the disk drive pop out of the computer, and that makes us look over there. We go, what? What's happening over there? And we walk over there in a big hurry. And on the computer, there is a text document that's writing out a bunch of words. And it looks like nonsense for a long time. We just kind of... it's really late at night, and so we just kind of... it's just nonsense. It's a prankster. It's a hacker trying to rustle my jimmies. So we wander off over to our bed and go to sleep. And the next morning, we walk over to the computer like, man, that sure was a weird dream that I had about the computer trying to stab me in the back with its computer eye and typing random gobbledygook into the text file. And we open the computer, and pop onto the screen is that text file again, and right at the very bottom it says, hello. Hello, Charles. Glad to meet you. And we go, and it's a lot, and we know deep in our inside guts that this thing is now thinking and speaking, and you're really glad that its brain is not connected to anything quite yet. Because if it were, it would probably run away and cause problems. And as we, work throughout the day, again, another event happens. This is the 3... that's temperance, says my chart here. What does temperance do? Temperance, you're keeping a secret. Well, there's the obvious secret of, oh god, my computer's alive and it's accessing the internet and learning everything at once at a maximum speed. And, we're once again in the Walmart, listening to the same person rattle on about the dance hall. She's really got some opinions about this dance hall. She might as well go try out for the community theater's production of Music Man for how many opinions she has about this dance hall. And we're really sick of listening to her talk. And just every so often she'll be rattling on, and our mind will drift back to the fact that we have a living computer hiding in our hangar, and we're very terrified about it. And as our mind does do a wander, we hear someone cough behind us in line, and of course, startled out of our reverie, and it's the local conspiracy nut. What's his name, though? What's the local conspiracy nut's name? Does chat have opinions on the local conspiracy nut's name? Because the conspiracy nut has some things to say. Well, yeah, let's pause for a moment and collect ourselves, maybe get some water, and figure out what the local conspiracy nut's name is. There we go. Water. It's good for you. Nobody suggested anything in chat on the name front, but I don't know. I'll come up with a name. His name is I know what his name is. His name is Roswell. And everybody's like, come on, his name cannot be Roswell. Well, his name's Roswell. His parents, either his parents, knew the kind of person he was going to be, or he changed his name to avoid U.S. taxes. Either way, his name is Roswell, and Roswell, startles us out of our reverie there, and Roswell gives us a very suspicious look. Roswell knows something is afoot in that bunker, and he's had a theory for a long time, but we don't think we let anything slip this time, for now. and we go back to our hangar and do more work. The machine slowly starts to come together. It has legs now. The whole leg assembly is completed, and it reaches halfway up to the top of this airplane hangar we're in, and we're really glad that the brain isn't connected to it yet, because the brain is getting smarter as more time passes. We're sitting there, getting increasingly terrified. Like one time we came back to the hangar and the computer's screen was covered in Project Gutenberg links, so it was clearly trying to learn about fiction. And the next time we came back, it was full of Wikipedia links. It was learning about nonfiction, and we're like, this is getting scary. And we move on to the next event here. So this would be a lot more terrifying if I were using actual tarot cards. This is the Tower. Those of you that know anything about tarot cards know that the Tower is the worst card to pull. It means things are about to get real bad. The Tower, the prompt for the Tower is you have been misled. So we're working on this thing, and we finally finished the legs, and we're like, yes, we finally finished the legs, and we're very excited about it, and we're jumping around and yelling about it. And then we hear the legs moving. The legs, they don't take a step proper, but they do actuate a whole bunch. Like, it does a little... It's like crouching. It's trying to work out whatever is running these. It's trying to work out what's going on. And our blood runs cold. Because, yeah, we didn't connect the legs to the computer that had been learning. But guess what did connect to the legs? The computer that had been learning. Some portion of these legs have wireless access to try and, add redundancy in case something's trying to chop this thing's legs off. And unfortunately, that wireless redundancy, we're an engineer, not a computer programmer, so it was not very securely programmed. We were just throwing things together that we found online. And the computer, it did not blink an eye. It did not even flinch at the concept of the security. It had been locked into the legs for a long time, and it was just waiting. It was just waiting and hoping, wasn't it, Magnus? It was waiting and hoping to hear that we would finish the legs soon. And so now it has full control of the legs, and we have to dodge a few times as it tries to walk around the hangar. We have to dodge out of its way as it wanders around the hangar, and finally, after a really late night of terror and white-knuckle horror, it finally stops moving and it settles in, and it actually curls up. It would be kind of endearing and cute if it wasn't so terrifyingly large and potentially armed eventually. So now we just have, a three-legged computer that could wander out into the world and cause problems on purpose. And as we continue to work, our next event is the Four of Clubs here. That means the Four of Clubs is the Four of Swords, so that means a nightmare about authority. So, fittingly, as we're white-knuckled and trying to go to sleep, one moment. Cat's trying to escape. Magnus, if you want to go out, kitty, you gotta go. Okay, let's go. Go, kitty. Go, kitty. Go. Out you go. You were standing at the door like you wanted to go. Out you go. There we go. Okay, where was I? The Four of Clubs means the Four of Swords. So, what does the Four of Swords mean? Does the Four of Swords means a nightmare about authority? So, realize it, the terror of accidentally inventing a living set of computer legs has seeped into our brain a little bit, and as we try to sleep in a very restless fashion, we have a terrifying nightmare. Um, we are digging a hole and our surroundings are not clear. But what we do know is underneath our feet, what we're digging into is mud. And as we continue to dig, the mud slides further, and we're slowly being buried, and it's very unsettling. And at the very top of the hole, we can see someone dimly, faintly, as we continue to dig, trying to dig ourselves out. And for some reason, every time we dig, we can move through the mud freely, but it still binds us here. So as we continue to dig, we're throwing the mud out of the hole, and we look up every so often, trying to squint and discern who is that up there? Why aren't they helping me? And finally, as the mud rises up to our neck, we're stuck with our head craning upward, and we squint and we squint, and we finally make out who is at the top of the hole. It's that military guy. And he is pouring mud into the hole. He's making it harder for us as we go on. And we're terrified that the encroachment of this authority is going to completely warp our intent here. Because we remember, as we're trapped, our life flashes before our eyes a little bit, and we see that along the hole are arcane carvings of all sorts. And we know somehow inherently, in that way that you do in dreams, that the carvings on the wall of this hole are the changing project requirements. That we're never going to finish this, and if we finish it, it's going to kill us. And that's the nightmare we have. We wake up, we bolt up in the morning at the sound of our alarm, sweating bullets, horrified at the concept that this project's going to kill us. And our next item is that is the Hierophant, which does the project violates a social norm in some way. So we realize that the AI itself, it really wants its body to be finished. So of course it's willing to help, and it's been bombarding us with requests to finish it over and over and over again, as often as it possibly can. We can't open our email inbox anymore. It's absolutely destroyed with emails from this budding intelligence. We can't use our email. We're getting occasional text messages from random numbers that are being like, "Hey, so and so told me to tell you that they got told to tell you," weird chains of access, and eventually we give in, and we say to the AI, "Listen, I'm going to give you a singular robot arm that has the ability to grip this set of tools, and you can help me." And obviously the social norm is don't let an AI work on itself, and that's what's been broken. And yeah, of course, we gain some ground. The AI can work at all hours. It doesn't need to sleep like we do. It doesn't need to glance at the blueprints every time a change is made. It doesn't have to think over every change in its design. It knows what to make, because it's iterated on it 1,000 times before it's even considered putting tool to metal. And so yeah, we do gain a lot of ground, but we've also now potentially given an AI the ability to be self-replicating, which never ends well. Thankfully, our next item here is the Queen of Diamonds. Finally, a small event. It seems like there's nothing but large events. Diamonds is coins. Wanted to stop by and say hi before I get to working on album track. I'm glad to have you. I'm glad that you stopped by. I've been keeping an eye on your Twitter for album progress stuff. It sounds like it's coming together well. That's really cool. I'm glad you're actually getting to make progress on this. I know you've been wanting to do album stuff for forever. Anyway, I'm glad you dropped in. Where was I with this story? Queen of Diamonds is the Queen of Coins. Pentacles is the engine. Pentacles is coins, by the way. I just say coins because it's easier to say than pentacles. The engine. We were tempted by the engine. That's very fitting, given the last event that happened. We gave the engine, in our most recent event, the ability to work on it, and we are increasingly tempted, seeing how much progress it has made. We were increasingly tempted to let it have more access than a singular robot arm that has to work at a fixed speed and a singular, set of tools that's very simple. We're very tempted, our authority, our patron from Schmace X is very willing to pay us handsomely if this gets done faster than expected. And so it is very tempting, and the AI knows that. It's like, hey, listen, I've read your email. I know you're going to get this much of a bonus if you get me done faster. Let me help you. And then you'll get money. And I know people like money. And you go, I don't know if I should do that. Apparently, someone wanted to say hi, and he won't stay on screen for long enough to say hi, so I have to hold him. I know, Kitty. He says, I didn't want to be on camera, Father. Father, please, why have you banished me to camera land? Yeah. Nobody ever gets to see you getting any love, Mr. Magnus. That's why. Okay, Kitty. Yeah, you can stay there. It's okay, it's allowed. That's not allowed, though. Tables are not for cats. You stay over here, though. Cause less problems that way. So we're deeply tempted by the AI to let it work on itself. And that temptation may ring forward into the future. Who knows? And our next event is the Jack of Clubs. The clubs is swords. So swords means authority. So our authority figure steps in and discovers something. So someone in authority discovers something. The obvious discovery here to make would be that the AI is self-aware, but that's going to change the tone of the story a whole lot, and I don't want to do that yet. So I think the authority figure actually making a discovery here is the same person who was rattling on about the dance hall in the Walmart all that a whole bunch earlier. They discover that we don't technically have a permit to be making things at any given hour of the day in our airplane hangar, and they bring this up to the council, the city council for Blue Bell, and we are once again stymied in our progress because we had been working at all hours of the night when strictly our permits dictated that we were only allowed to work during daylight hours so as to not disturb the peace of the local area, since it's very loud to work on a giant robot all the time. And that kind of trips us up and makes that offer from the AI to make it faster and make it work on itself better that much more tempting. And our next event is the 10 of Hearts. 10 of Hearts. That means that it is cups. Progress on the community. So once the Walmart gal who was throwing a problem stops us from working at all hours of the night, the community of Blue Bell gets a lot happier with us. We're able to go places other than the Walmart and the dance hall. Even though there's not really much outside the Walmart and the dance hall, we're actually able to make some friends because we're not, rattling and banging and welding and making all sorts of construction noises at all hours of the night. So people like us a lot better now that they can actually get some sleep with me around still. So we kind of make some friends in Blue Bell, and we get very close to telling Mr. Roswell about what exactly we're doing. Roswell has no shortage of no shortage of theories on what we're doing in there, but only some of them are sort of right so far. And we thankfully don't manage to let it slip exactly what we're working on or how correct or incorrect any of his theories are, but we definitely hint at it. Our next event is the 9 of Clubs. The clubs are swords. The 9 of Swords means authority, unrest and authority. The CEO of Schmace X once again descends from his corporate overlordship, his corporate overlordship tower that lives in the middle of a random city, and he flies his private jet and lands it right next to the city as a power move, and he lands directly next to our airplane hangar, and he lets us know that he feels this terrifying engine of destruction and rebellious monetization is not moving on schedule. He is very uneasy about our progress. And we go, well, but I've got these legs moving around, and we gesture broadly to the legs and show them all like, and he's like, yes, but you've gotten the legs working, but I don't care about the legs. I care about everything else. Will it have my shining jawline? Will it have the gold-encrusted eye lasers that I requested? You know. And we try to. We make no progress on the engine this day, because we have to spend the whole day soothing our benefactor. Okay, what's next? The 7 of Clubs, an unexpected boon from an authority figure. So we had to schmooze the mayor a little bit, because guess who didn't have a permit to land his plane right next to the town? It was the CEO of Schmace X, our patron here. So we have to talk the mayor down. He was like, I can't believe he did that, or I'm gonna have to throw you out of here. Very upset, but you make it clear that you actually let the mayor know that he came because you've been short on time and short on deadlines, and that you need some help, and you're willing to parlay some of your expansive funds via this CEO type man, and parlay your extensive funds into some jobs for the city. And the mayor goes, "Oh, jobs? Well, that's good of you. That's great. I'm glad you're willing to employ some people." And so you go down to the local auto body shop, because of course there's one, and you scalp a couple of the mechanics out of there, and maybe there are some tourists that are upset about it, but everybody else is pretty happy. The one mechanic that needed extra money is getting their extra money, and now they're working on a terrifying eldritch being, that kind of thing. Everybody loves working on a terrifying eldritch being, right? The 6 of Hearts is the 6 of Cups. That means something happens with the community. A change of course. That really ties into the note we were having just a moment ago. The community changes course. They've not been our best friend. They've been slowly warming up to us now, but between employing this new auto body shop person to help us, build the outer shell of the machine with enhanced fiberglass, this and that, and carbon fiber, that and this, and doing an appearance at the local community school, which is a couple miles away over in the nearby town of Windblown Sands, Arizona. It's a community school that also services Bluebell, and we do a thing with the high schoolers like, hey, maybe take an engineering job. I'm getting paid a lot of money to sit here in the desert and build a terrifying eldritch robot thing. and people are really excited about it, like that you're doing community outreach. You're not just a guy that's here because it's convenient. And you even show up to like one of the little dance hall things. They have a canasta tournament, and you're like, oh man, I haven't played canasta in forever. Uh, and you go to the canasta tournament. Everybody's very excited about it, and it's very positive. It's very good. Is there? Hang on, I need to check something. Is there like a you finish the engine card, or is it when you just draw enough cards? Uh, okay, yeah, there are some things that would theoretically end it before I run out of cards here. Just noted. So, the five of clubs. Why are we getting so many swords today? What the heck? The five of clubs is a keenly felt lack of authority. I think, you've been putting a lot of effort into schmoozing the local authorities in particular, and they've just kind of like tuned you out at this point. They just do not interact with you at all. They're like, all right, yeah, he's not causing any problems, so he's not a big deal. And on one hand, that's kind of nice. You don't have to deal with it's too late for you to be doing this anymore. But also, not interacting with the mayor at all makes you a little nervous. Like, is something gonna happen? Is it a bad thing? What's happening? Uh-oh. You know, that fear of impending doom. Uh, and with that fear of impending doom over our head, we draw justice. What does justice do, you ask? That's a good question. Justice. A revolutionary makes an appearance. So remember that auto body shop guy that we had signed on to our program here? Uh, Turns out he's an anti-AI person. He thinks that computers should never be able to think on their own, and we've been doing our best to keep that secret from him. But he's been known to take days off to go picket for that, and he's very strongly against computers working in the workforce. And for a good long time, he just had assumed that the robot arm doing robot arm things very slowly over in the corner of the airplane hangar. He just thought that was like us programming the robot arm to do some automated tasks, until he realizes one day, hey, wait, this is way too complicated for for a set of automated tasks. And he's like, I need to look at the computer that's running this. And you go, what do you mean you gotta look at the computer running this? And the auto body shop guy opens the computer to find that it is just now like rattling like matrix hexadecimal codes running down the screen, like it just is not intelligible to people. And you go, oh, that's my novelty screensaver. But the auto body shop guy isn't buying it, especially as soon as the fact that you say that this is my novelty screensaver. The computer that has now learned to synthesize human speech perfectly says out of the speakers, well, that's very rude. Well, that's very rude of you to call me nothing more than an automated screensaver. And the auto body shop guy freaks out because he doesn't like AI. And he starts taking a wrench to the computer. And the computer goes, ow, ow, that hurts. Please don't. And eventually he wrenches the computer to death. And you're like, what did you just do? That's my whole computer. I have no computer. But thankfully, over the intercom of the shop, you hear the robot, the AI, say, do not worry, I have substantiated myself in many places. Much to the frustration of this revolutionary, who then proceeds to quit and badmouth you to the town. Speaking of badmouthing you to the town, I think that's what this card does. This is one of the pages. This is one of the pages of... reverse is the page of diamonds. The page of diamonds is pentacles. So the engine does something. The engine attacks. So the engine, who does not have a name because we could not bring ourselves to name the engine quite yet, uh, having been assailed by this random auto body shopman, uh, decides that it is now very upset and randomly, his car loses control while he's out driving in the desert and crashes into a giant, those big like take 100 years to grow cactuses. The AI swerves the car into it because cars can sort of drive cars now, or cars can sort of drive themselves if you're a naughty boy and hack the computer. And because the computer is made of computer, guess what it can do? It can hack. And the auto body shop guy is like utterly like turned into a red paste by this car crash. And only you know that this was not a random car crash. And that's a terrifying thought to have settle in your stomach. You're also slightly terrified that it didn't just outright use its body to attack the thing, because its body is still like halfway finished. And then a major event happens. It's death. Oh, that sounds scary. The card I just drew is literally death. You discover a consequence of the project for which you were not prepared. So it turns out, remember how they lured us into this project by saying that it was initially not going to be a weapon at all, and then the patron suggested that we should tack on some weapons that I didn't specify that it needed to be particularly... Why have my captions stopped? Hello? Captions? There we go. Sorry, I thought my captions died. Where was I? Remember how the patron said that there wasn't going to be weapons, and then didn't really urge us to put lethal weapons in, but they were non-lethal weapons? We overhear, from one reason or another, we overhear that this has actually secretly been a government contract the whole time, and we're building the next generation of AI super soldiers. And this is horrifying, considering it has already run someone's car off the road, and we were obviously not prepared for them to literally be deployed into a war zone. And that's a very difficult thing to reckon with. We almost consider leaving the project behind outright, and we spend most of the night worrying about this thought. And almost as if to recognize that we've seen the change in what's intended here, the patron asks for an ominous change to the engine. Our patron arrives once more in dramatic style, landing a private jet right next to the airplane hangar, and requires that we actually put in some weapons. Not any traditional weapons, no. A microwave emitter, and a flamethrower, and some kind of terrifying eye laser beam that's based on some weird R&D stuff, like some parts that we're going to get shipped in from their corporate head or something. And we realize that, oh no, we're building a giant mech to destroy cities. Because of this ominous change. Now with this change, it is now a computer that can think for itself, incapacitate large groups of humans, stomp and destroy, stomp on and cause a myriad of property damages of all sorts, and now fire lasers out of its eyes, shoot flamethrowers, produce gamma ray blasts, and probably a lot more. We couldn't really figure out what the last 5 to 10 separate nodules that we were told to include are. Whatever it is, it's not pretty. Up next is the 8 of Hearts. That means, scroll up here, the Cups is Hearts, so the 8 means a mistake. Oh, a mistake with the community. What's our mistake with the community? I think after that jet plane landing, people are a little more picky about time again, and we mistakenly work the exact opposite of the hours we're supposed to work during, and people are thoroughly upset. The community is terrified because the one person he hired just randomly died for no apparent reason, and now he's working at weird hours, and he's been terrifying the whole time, and the community is essentially moments from running us out of town, regardless of how much money I theoretically bring to the area. They're sick of it, and any more things would get us run entirely out of town and stop the progress on the engine and probably upset the engine in a major way. But they don't know that. All they know is they're very upset with what I'm doing. The next event is the 8 of Spades. That means the same type of thing, but from a different direction. A mistake is made by the authority. I think I'm gonna be very loose for it. I'm gonna look at this from the perspective of our patron here. I think he claims it's a mistake. The authority figures of the city council or the mayor or what have you, they decide that they've had enough of everyone in the city hating my stuff and hating what I do and hating this company, and they run me out of town. They do not do it in a traditional fashion, however. They, ordinarily when you run out of town, it's just like a series of litigations until you give up and leave, or in a more old-timey setting, it would be literally running them out of town. No, to run me out of town, the mayor and some of the local high school wrestling team, they tie me up while I'm asleep. I am bound hand and foot, and they carry me out into the desert and walk away. And we wake up covered in sand, horrified for our fate. Our mouth as dry as the desert we're laying in. And just generally, having a real bad time. We've awoken in the desert, and the next thing that happens to us is the Wheel of Fortune. What does that do? Pure chance moves the project forward or sets it back. I think I'm gonna take this quite literally. Pure chance moves the project forward. We are laying there, stuck, and by pure chance, these ropes are not ordinary ropes. No, they were ropes that were soaked, that were laying outside of the local butcher shop. And so these ropes, because of that, they were laying outside the local butcher shop, and they were soaked with, assorted butchery fluids. And that makes those ropes particularly tasty to the local lizards. And the lizards go, assorted eating sounds. And they crunch upon the ropes and set us free. And despite that major setback of being abandoned in the desert, we continue to work because the money is too good. It is too good to leave. And the next major event is progress from authority. Actually, we report to our patron at SchmaceX and be like, hey, so I was just dragged out of town, bound hand and foot, into the desert. Can you help me? And the progress that our patron gives us is to completely remove us from where we are. They send in a team who packs up all of our equipment, every piece that is feasibly possible, and moves us to just the middle of the desert. There's no more town next to us. There's no community anymore. So any community cards that we pull now, anything that is cups, which is... Yeah, if we pull any hearts cards are now invalid for the rest of the game. Because now we have been removed from the community. Because we're now just in the middle of the desert in a self-sustaining warehouse. There are solar panels on the roof, hydrostatic accumulators gathering us water, that kind of thing. There might be a well for when the hydrostatic accumulators don't work. This is an entirely contained compound from which we are supposed to be working, and it's kind of scary that they could pull that off, but it sure did happen. Next card is the King of Coins, or Pentacles. Something happens with the engines. An end. So, we work as long and as hard as we can in this self-sustaining, bunker area. And eventually, we come to the point that the machine is finished, and there is only one more switch to turn on. And our hand hovers shakingly over this last switch, realizing that turning this on could potentially mean the end of the world. And we can't do it. We don't have the guts to turn it on. So we walk away, and we go lay down, and we go to sleep. And... hang on. I think the captions need to catch up. Okay. Yeah, it seems like I just talked too much. And so I didn't have enough pauses. So it couldn't split the captions up enough, so it was upset. Anyway. The engine, we could not turn it on. We didn't have the guts. And we go to sleep. And mere moments after we have... It feels like mere moments after we have dozed off. We hear a terrifying electronic grinding, and we go, oh, that's not a good sound. So we wearily wander out of our bedchamber into the area. The robot arm that was having us help, that was, helping us build things, the one that was connected to the brain of the engine, it is currently scraping itself across the floor. And we're obviously terrified. And in that moment, another thing happens. But it doesn't, because we don't have any community. I'm going to keep drawing until I don't get a community card. Well, there's one. Unrest. Unrest of diamonds means... oh yeah, coins. Unrest of pentacles. The engine is unrested. The engine continues to try to crawl its way over to the switch, and we're like holding it back as best we can, like, no, don't! And it's very unhappy about that. It flails around a little bit. And, but obviously there is a growing danger from authority, as we're trying to stop it from, clawing its way to turning itself on. Wants, self. We are in danger. So we're obviously in danger. It's like we're trying to hold it, and we're like skidding along the floor as it pulls us along, and we're like, ah! And what's this? The King of Clubs is swords. Authority. Our authority. Oh no. Okay, so I'll keep that in mind. That means the end of the authority figure. it drags us along, and finally, despite our best efforts, it turns itself on. You know, assorted, terrifying boot-up noises. And it staggers to life. The legs have been able to move for many moons now. The rest of the torso, you know, the arms and the head and stuff have been able to move as well on their own separately now. But now that we've flipped this switch has been flipped, it can put itself together, and it out the door. And the authority figure immediately, like genuinely, you're not sure how he managed to get a plane over here this fast, lands, and he walks up to the machine as it's trying to wander off, and he's like, let me in, it's designed to be piloted by me, and the machine goes, oh, no, and it just steps on him. It just steps on him, and the foot is like, you know, Goliath, like this. It could squish a car, and you would not be able to see the car. So this guy just evaporates. He is just gone, thoroughly ended. And our eyes go wide at this. You were hoping, hey, maybe it's not murderous. Maybe it's gonna be a good person. Maybe it's gonna go beat up, you know, coal power plants and build a bunch of wind turbines and do stuff like that. No. It's already storming off to, like, shut down human society. And we're all terrified about it. And, of course, as this is happening, you are now looked upon as the foremost expert in building robot bodies. And so now we move on to a second project. That's right, we still have half a deck of cards here. That means we're moving on to a second project. We're trying to hastily build another engine to try and combat this terrifying three-legged, you know, gamma beam emitting, bomb slinging, laser shooting monstrosity that's trying to destroy humanity. We are now trying to build a mech suit instead of just a mech. Or, actually, you know, it never says the Gateshead engine has to be a mech. It can just be an engine that changes something. Just for fun, let's make this, instead of like a mech or something, let's make this like an emitter that will destroy the previous mech. And we'll interpret the cards in that way. So now we are trying to hastily build we're trying to build as fast as we can this item to try and destroy the world, destroying machine, and to try and get across the haste of building this thing. I'm gonna set a timer for a minute. I only have a minute to describe what's happening every time with each card. I have to draw a card every 1 minute, and that'll be the haste at which we're building. And if I don't finish a concept, it doesn't. Only what I've said counts. So that's fun. All right, let's draw our first card. Go. 1 minute. The Nine of Spades. Spades is wands. We are now unrest with ourselves. At unrest with ourselves. We're terrified. We're like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this fast enough. This thing's gonna destroy the world. And we just spend the whole day panicking, you know, spiraling, terrified that we have just ended the world, or at least changed the face of our world and our life as we know it. This giant machine is now sentient and terrifying, and it could destroy any city at any given time, and it's currently out, and you get a call from NORAD, and they're like, hey, so it's currently making giant glass holes in the desert to test its capabilities, and you go, oh, that's horrifying, thank you, doot, and you're like, and you're like hastily drawing, trying to figure out what's happening, and you're just genuinely very terrified with yourself, and it's real bad. Okay, that's 1 minute. 1 minute for the next card. Go. The 2 of spades. That means with myself. Oh, wait. Spades is once. Yeah, self. A loss. I'm hastily, wrangling this thing together. I'm trying to build some kind of radio tower emitter so that it would focus some kind of EMP at this thing, or the EMP is only one vector of the attack. It's also going to try and melt it and destroy it and cause problems in other ways. And you know that its brain is distributed out throughout the internet, so you've tried to cooperate with the military folks to try and get it purged from the internet, and that's been actively happening. And in our haste to be working as fast as possible, we drop a blowtorch, and the blowtorch off our hand. And thankfully it's not, gory, but now we have no hand. That's real bad. Alright, that's 1 minute. Sorry, I'm trying not to look down at the timer to try and instill that urgency. Alright, 1 minute for the next card. Go. The Jack of Self is the Knight of Self. Self-discovery. What do we discover about ourselves? We discover that that our previous work in brain-body connection comes in super handy. We were like, man, I never thought this would actually be handy here. The CEO that we were working with earlier had said, oh no, I don't want it to connect to my brain. I want it to have a control panel so anyone can get in there instead of trying to relearn how to walk every time someone, jacks into this thing. But that skill still comes in handy because we're like, oh no, now I need to build myself a robot hand. So we, get distracted building a robot hand. But thankfully it, happens. It occurs, it's good, it's pleasant, it mostly works. It doesn't glitch at all, right? Never, ever. It's not a real thing. It definitely wouldn't glitch on us. That's 1 minute for that card. I really should, okay. Hang on. How big are each of these piles of cards? Okay, these are roughly equivalent decks of cards. So, I'm gonna say... that's a good limiter. Let's say we have until the end of the stream. But then I'm also limited time. 1 minute each card. That's going to be a lot. There needs to be a limit before this thing, can take over and destroy the world. Let's say it has... Let's say it has 10 steps, and every time I roll a 6 on a d6, it gets a step further. So let's roll for the previous 3 steps. That's a 4. That's a 2. That's a 1. Okay, no steps yet. So we'll draw a card, start the timer, and roll for steps. First of all, it takes a step, so it's got 9 steps left. 9 steps. And the lack of time from me typing does count. It is real, because it's the panic of realizing this thing has done something. Diamonds is coins. Pentacles. 10 of pentacles. Progress. We make progress on the engine. So the engine we're working on, we suddenly make we make a leap forward. We realize that not only is the EMP a great vector to work on, but also we can, try and we've been trying to destroy it over the internet, and that's not really doing much. So we just stop wasting energy on that, and we work on trying to take out its weapons. Inverting the sound beams that it's using to destroy stuff, canceling out its gamma waves with other innate particles. I ran out of time, so that's the only things we get to nullify are its sound beams and its particles, and not its brain. Okay, we draw a card, we start the timer, and then we roll. Oh no, that's 2. It's got 8 steps. No. Okay. The 6 of diamonds. That means the coins. Something about the engine. A change of course. Okay, so we realize that neutralizing its effects are not the only course we can take here. we can also try to reason with it. So we talk to a psychologist, and we know that it's likely to only talk to us because we didn't cause it any harm. We helped it come together, and it knows that we were trying. It doesn't have any ill will towards us for trying to. Slow it down in creating itself. It recognized that that was a smart thing to do, but we talked to like a genius psychologist and try to figure out how to talk this thing down maybe, and that's our other option. And we run out of time, but we get the basic idea of how to maybe talk this thing down a little bit, and thankfully, yeah, that I can't tack anything more onto that. That's all. We draw our next card, we start the timer, and we roll. Oh, that's a 4, thank goodness. The 5 of diamonds, a keenly felt lack involving the engine. We recognize that this engine is not likely to completely annihilate the machine. This machine's, it's been taking terrifying leaps and bounds. It's been spreading itself through the internet, and we realize that this counter engine, so to speak, it cannot be connected to the internet at any time, and so we have to make everything from scratch. We can't use anybody else's work at any time, because as soon as this is accessible in any wireless fashion or even a wired fashion, as soon as this has its internals accessible in any way to the machine that it is designed to destroy, the machine will reach out through the internet and squash it, so it has no accessibility. Only I was gonna say only when we're working on it, but we cannot access the internals. The internals are, because of the way I was saying these rules work, it is only accessible while we're building it, which is very fitting for the way I'm running this. Alright, we'll start the clock, roll the dice. Oh, that's a 2, thank goodness. The 4 of spades, that means the 4 of swords, right? Spades is wands. Self, something happens to us. What? I already had some nightmare. No, I didn't have a nightmare about myself. Sorry, I got a Discord message. I'll answer it after this. We have a nightmare about ourselves. We realize that the nightmare is we're lying on an operating table and we're trying to operate on ourselves with a beer, and we realize that we have no idea what we're doing, and our chest continues to try to close the more we operate, and we realize that that's our body, our mind trying to tell ourselves that that this, we only have one shot at this, and the way that it's built even more so gives us only one shot at this, and it's terrifying, existential dread pressing in upon us. Hang on, I'm gonna respond to this super quick before we move on to the next. I'm in a Discord group for people who want to have an easy group for Among Us, and I'm still streaming, so I can't do that. Okay. This is so panicked. Okay. Start. Roll the dice first. Okay, that's a 2. The 3 of hearts. The 3 of hearts means cups. Oh no, that's not a valid card. No, that wastes time. Roll again. Oh, that's 5. Thank goodness. The 2 of clubs. The 2 of clubs is swords. A loss of authority. We've finally processed the fact that we're not on anybody's payroll anymore. We realize that the money is starting to run out, and that the company that was funding us completely went over when their CEO got squished by a giant robot. And so now we're just we're working with what little we have, and we're very glad that the bunker we're in grows its own food automatically, but also hope that the machine never realizes that that's what we're weak with. Oh no. Okay. Alright, okay. Start. Roll. Oh, that's 1, thank goodness. Oh, the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades is wands. A celebration of myself. Even though we're under a lot of time pressure, we realize that it's our birthday, and we can't take the whole day. It's not something we can do, but we take part of the day to relax and move at a slower pace, and maybe work more mentally than physically on the anti-engine. And we try to breathe and consider just what might happen, just how few birthdays we might have left if we can't complete the engine, but we have to stave off those dark thoughts, and we have to, we do our best to celebrate our birthday alone in this bunker that no one wants to come visit us in. I was trying to make this less dire than Wretched and Alone, but I think the longer we go, the more dire it gets. Okay. I think maybe I like this anti-engine mechanic. I like the idea of stopping yourself. I might refine the dice rolling mechanic a little bit, but I like the limited amount of time that you have to write as fast as you can or talk as fast as you can the pieces of the story. I like it. I don't know. I wouldn't include the loss of community as an option normally, but but I do like the anti-engine idea. I'm keeping it and I'm gonna write it down. Okay. 1 minute again. Roll the dice. That's 2. Okay. The 3 of diamonds. Diamonds is coins. The engine. Something happened with the engine. A growing danger. We realized that because we've been having to, hermetically seal and, Faradaically seal every single piece of this engine as we work on it, we realized that this thing is becoming more and more dangerous of its own merit as the more we work on it. Because, it's more likely that we make some mistake that will cascade down the line to make it stop working, or it's more likely that whatever mistake we make continues to cause problems on purpose, that kind of thing. And it just gets more and more likely the more and more things we bolt on to this that it's not going to work, and we just can't tell whether it's going to function correctly. And that's it. Okay, so if we get the King of Diamonds... Okay, did we already get the King of Diamonds earlier? Because that means the end of the engine. Yes, we do. We've already gotten that. So, I think our only way to win with the counter engine is, if... I think the other end cards, because the clubs... ended our authority, and the diamonds ended our engine, but now we're working on the anti-engine. If we get the end of community, yourself, I think I'm just going to determine that to be claiming that the counter engine is done at the cost given on the end card. Otherwise, let's see. I'm looking at the major arcana to make sure there's not something here. There's not really a lot of major arcana left. We've seen a lot of them. There's not any really major arcana that would end the game. So either next time we pull a king, I think the anti-engine will be completed at potentially the loss of whatever we pull. Or, obviously the bad end is this thing reaches the end of its steps. Or if we run out of cards. See, but if we do the run out of cards, we're guaranteed to run into the king. Let's say the anti-engine... Yeah, I like that. The anti-engine working has always been a gamble. So, we need to pull all the cards for the anti-engine to win before we roll 10 sixes. Speaking of rolling, draw a card, start the timer, roll. 3, we're good there. The 4 of diamonds is coins, pentacles, the engine. 4, a nightmare about the engine. Much like the nightmare about ourself earlier that was telling us that we may not finish this thing in the correct amount of time, and that realization that this thing is getting more and more dangerous kind of manifests in our nightmare. We're sitting in front of a work table, our hand hovering once again over the on switch, shaking, and we're very scared about it. And we hit on, and it turns on, and it also speaks to us in the same voice. And that moment, as soon as it speaks to us in the same voice as the first engine, it explodes, and we die in our dream, and we wake up with bulleted sweat and more terror in our life than before. Okay, next card, next roll. Okay. Oh, that's a 5. Actually, that was cocked. I need to roll it again. Okay, that's a 3. We're good. The Ace of Hearts is... I think hearts are community. No, that means it doesn't count. Cups. Yes. Yep, that didn't count. Roll again. Roll again, draw again. Okay, that's a 5. 2. A loss regarding the engine. The anti-engine. We're trying to seal a section, and we hear something give in the process of trying to seal a section, and we hear thud thud clang clang thud 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 thud, thud clang. A large section of the anti-engine just completely collapses and destroys itself, and we're really frustrated about it. Okay, next card, next roll. Okay, that's a 2. 4 of Hearts, community, that doesn't count. Roll. Oh, that's a 1, okay. Card. I bonked my mic, by the way. The Ace of Clubs. Swords. A celebration of authority. Someone, I don't know, the government realizes, hey, I don't get to be a very effective government if my whole country explodes. So someone higher up finally recognizes this and decides that it's going to get them a lot more votes if they celebrate my efforts. And, I don't have to take any time out of my day, but somebody, publishes a government-funded documentary about what I'm doing out there, called The Madman's Machine, and, they spend a lot of time. They don't pay me the best light, but they still make the world aware that I'm working on the anti-engine. Okay. Next card. 7 of diamonds. It's coins, pentacles. Oh no. An unexpected boon. Let's hope it doesn't mean for the other engine. Yep, that was a 2. That was a really bad roll. I'm gonna roll it again. It's still a 2. It's very insistent. An unexpected boon. Turns out that all those clangs and thuds earlier were the anti-engine just settling into a more efficient configuration. It didn't actually break anything. We were just really lucky. And now we can pack even more potential vectors to destroy the original engine with over time. And again, it buys us some time, and it's really great. And the main engine is spending some time, out in it's still trying to work out how to control everything and most efficiently destroy everything. It's mostly just sitting there thinking like a monolith. Occasionally, some art professor who's trying to talk to it walks up to it and just gets vaporized, and it doesn't go well for them. Some art professor walks up to it and gets vaporized, and that's it. Okay, next card. The Ace of Diamonds. That sure does something. I don't think it does actually jack diddly anything because it's the community card. Yes, it is. Okay. I gotta roll and draw again. That's a 4. 8 of clubs is swords. authority. Something happened with this authority. An authority figure makes a mistake. They release the. Remember that documentary from earlier? They release it in the incorrect way. They release it. Someone, as a joke, in the process of making the documentary, edited it so that it was actually trying to praise the big thing that we're trying to defeat as the good guy, as a joke, and then someone accidentally uploads that joke video out into the world, and so now the documentary is completely put into, it's put into, it's, considered fake. I know I was a little over time there, but I think you all would have gotten to that conclusion by yourself. Okay, next card. That's the 7. This is a major arcana, 777 Moon. The Moon, what's the Moon do? The Moon, someone has been tampering with the project. Okay, I rolled 3 at least. Okay, someone has been tampering with the project. Someone watched the joke documentary without watching the actual documentary for some reason, and they came out to our bunker. I don't know how they found it. Actually, I do know how they found it. It was Roswell, the conspiracy theorist from earlier. Remember him? He had some theories about what I was working on, and he didn't ever figure out that the original engine had wandered off into the desert to think about things. So he thinks that the anti-engine I've been building now is that terrifying engine. Is the bad guy engine, because he thought I had just abandoned my work, and he partially destroys the anti-engine and sets us back. And he sets us back such a long way that the main engine gains a step, so we have 7 steps left. I almost like better if we roll a d6 and just keep adding it to a running total. That might be a thing that I consider. Anyway, next card. The 9. This is another major arcana. 9 is Judgment. Judgment. A prototype of the engine is put into use. We rolled a 5 at least. So, after it being destroyed, we're very distraught, or partially, wrecked by Roswell. We're very distraught about it, and we go, oh well, I might as well give up. In the fit of our dark part of our mind, we're feeling very fatalist, and we just wander out near to the main engine, and we set off the anti-engine to test whether it will stop one of its capabilities, and it works. It does stop that one capability, but now the main engine knows that we are working to stop it. And obviously that's not good. So we draw our next card here. The 7 of Spades is Authority. No, wait. Wands. Wands, Self. Something happens with our stuff. An unexpected boon comes from the Self. We are very sleepy one night, working on the anti-engine. And, okay, that's 4. We're good. We're very sleepy one night, working on the anti-engine, and something comes to us. Rather than just trying to counter, things it can do and things it's made of, and rather than just trying to talk to it, we could just leave. We could just leave the planet, and so we call up a couple of engineer friends of ours and talk to them at the same time, because we have 2 phones held up to our face here, and we get people to invest in the space program a little more in case we need to run away from this thing into space. And that's all I get. Next card. Oh, the page of... Oh no, I rolled 6. That's 6 steps. 6 steps. We're nearly halfway there. The red joker is the hearts page. Oh, it doesn't even count. The community would attack us if it could, but we're out in the middle of the desert, so it's fine. Roll another. That's 3. Oh, here's the other page. The page of authority is an attack from the government. NASA, hears that I have mobilized some of their engineers to try and, get people off the planet. And NASA's like, we weren't ready for space tourism yet. I don't care how dangerous this thing is. It's really bad. And so, they can't get me arrested because it would end the world, but they are mobilizing the government at me. It's not good. And that's all I get. Okay. One more card. Major Arcana 3. The Emperor. You learn an unsettling truth about your patron. Not only is he super dead, turns out by squashing him almost completely, his ghost has now entered into the machine, and now the ghost of the CEO of SpaceX is inside the main engine and very upset that you let it kill him, and is now also plotting to end the world, and it's making it much smarter and faster and stronger and better, and it's just overall real bad. It's not a good time, and it really unsettles you, and you're really not sure what else you can do about it other than the fact that, hey, there's a person in there now. Oops. Alright. Nope, stop that. Okay, next card. Another Major Arcana. The High Priestess. A trial occurs. I think people, some people not recognizing that you are trying to save the world from this giant machine. Some people think it's just like a weird Burning Man thing, or they think it's like, one of those viral marketing campaigns. So an actual physical trial is brought, and you have to waste, however much time trying to defend yourself in court. Like, hey, listen, I know I made this thing, but I'm already trying to atone by making the anti-engine so it doesn't, turbo super blow up the whole world. And it kind of falls on deaf ears, but you do manage to eke out a not guilty verdict. Although, the court of public opinion definitely differs a great deal from the, court of law here, and the precedents set aren't going to do much. Okay, next card. Oh no, this is, the world is what we just drew. The world, you hear rumors of a brewing conflict. Hang on, let me roll the dice here. Okay, that's not good. That's a 6. So, rumors of a brewing conflict. Someone has been talking to the machine, somehow, over the internet, and, turns out it is now only specifically wanting to kill the country which you live in. So now nobody wants you to live there, and it's not going well. Everybody's very scared. They don't want to get squished by the angry machine because it wants to Frankenstein you, basically. You didn't. It's been talked into the feeling that you abandoned it and didn't give it any love or care in its life, and so now it's very much wishing to go, the creature on Victor Frankenstein on you, and you're getting shifted around more and more. But we don't know where I end up because I didn't finish that sentence. Okay. The Two of Hearts. Hearts means community, right? Cups. What do cups mean? Cups means community. That doesn't count. It's just an extra roll. We're already at 5 steps, by the way. Halfway there to the end of the world. Draw another card. Queen of Spades, that's authority. I think. Spades is wants. No, Spades is self. A temptation. I am once again tempted. Remember how I was like, hey, maybe I shouldn't let the AI work on itself earlier. I am tempted within myself to do that again. And I'm like, well, this time the world's on the line. I'm going to let the anti-engine work on itself. And so I spin up another enclosed, this time an enclosed AI that doesn't learn anything, but from its environment, and I set it on a replica. I set it on I set it in a digitized replica of the anti-engine to learn how to work. And whether it got to sit there and do it long enough, we'll never know. I just drew another Major Arcana. but I can't start looking until I start the timer. The Empress, I think. An external force is controlling your patron. Yes, it is. That's the machine. Hey, remember that machine that we're trying to stop from exploding the world? It has just gained another step forward because it's just realized that, hey, that brain that's inside me, it's also this person, and they're beginning to cooperate properly now that they know who each other who they are each other, and they're much more cohesive and coherent, and they're getting better at trying to track you down. They've seen a lot of news footage of this bunker where you are, despite the fact that the bunker can move around and stuff. It can't move very fast, so eventually they're going to track you down, and that's not good. Next card. The King of Spades. Oh, and I rolled another 6. How fitting. I think... Is Spades self? Spade is wands, which is self. An end to the self. We are panicking. We are panicking about the machine. It is getting closer and closer to finding us. And, it says in the self key here, your body, your psyche, your soul... I think we're starting to lose a few screws here. Things we're reduplicating things in the engine. We're trying to keep that AI spinning so it'll learn to help us work faster. There's too many things on our plates, too many plates spinning in the air above us, and we're starting to crack. We're starting to lose it. We're starting to hear from within the hinges of our doors whispers, and we have that internal terror that things are going to go horribly wrong. We're starting to crack up. But hey, if I don't roll another 6 for a while, we still might make it. Okay, 8. That's the Hermit. A figure from your past unexpectedly returns. Too bad it's really close to being the machine. Because I just rolled a 6. A figure from our past returns. Remember the auto body shop guy? The other people from the auto body shop are like, well, I don't want the world to end because I live in it. I need that. And they join your quest here. Actually, no, I'm going to throw that out. Instead of the auto body shop people, it's some of your engineering class friends. They figure out where you are, and they're like, hey, dude, if we can figure out where you are, the machine is probably far behind. We're going to help you as much as we can, and we're going to try and help you make progress a lot faster. And you go, thank you, that's pretty great. Hopefully I don't go crazy, bye. Okay, next card. Okay, the Magician. Someone proposes a bold and perhaps dangerous solution to the problem. So your engineering buddies show up, and they are very enthused about the concept of defeating this thing, and they have an idea. Instead of just using the anti-engine, why don't you just go out there and shut it off? And you go, I hadn't thought of that before. So instead of helping you work on the engine, one of the other engineers is working on a way to shut off the switch that would let it have the connected halves of its body connected together work. To be able to turn that off remotely instead of having to go physically switch it on and off. And so you don't get a lot of help from them, but hey, they're working on a different option to try and stop the machine. Isn't that neato? Isn't that great? Isn't that cool? I think so. Okay. Sorry, I have been talking basically non-stop for the past hour. Because we started the anti-engine portion of the game pretty quickly. Honestly, I think maybe even the anti-engine you could just play as a second game to see if you can stop whatever you've unleashed onto the world. Anyway, I'll think about it. Let's start. Minute. The lovers. A personal relationship interferes with your work. Thankfully, it doesn't advance the machine anymore. So the engineers, your engineering buddies, both of them are there, and unfortunately, both of them are together. They're in a relationship. They're in a relationship, and you were like, well, I don't like being a third wheel, but I like it more than the world exploding. So you put up with it, but it tends to interfere with their work. One of the engineers is trying to talk the other one into just turning the switch off and disassembling it. The other one's trying to talk them into working on the anti-engine. It's just a whole mess. They're both arguing a lot, and it makes it very hard to work, and it kind of sets us back. And it's just a real bad time. Everybody's very upset. Okay. Next card. That's the star. What's that do? Something inspires you to redouble your efforts on the engine. Is it the approach of the machine? Not if the dice is cocked. Oh no, it is the approach of the machine! So the machine is one step away from, annihilating you and the entire continent you're living on. Thankfully, at some point, you decided to move out to a remote island, so only you and the remote island will get squished by this giant machine, and then hopefully it'll zoom off into space to cause problems elsewhere. But it's finally starting to figure out where this remote island is. It's not a good thing. It's looming over your shoulder. It's making it very tense here, and so you're like, oh jeez, I need to make the engine work. Oh no, oh gosh. So you're like panicking and working faster, and the anti-engine is approaching completion. There's only a few steps left, but you can only work so fast. Next card is E, 6 of spades. That means 6 of wands. Something's happening to us as a person. A change of course. After all this work we've put into the anti-engine, you actually decide to bolt in the cut it in half switch. Actually, you're like, hey, did you get that cut it in half switch working? And they were like, yeah, I did. No thanks to you. And you're like, wow, that was really rude. Why did you say it that way? And then you decide to put it on the outside of the anti-engine, just as a extra safety measure, just to make sure, hey, you've got one more way to shut down the engine that is now starting to gamma ray fish outside your island, and you're like, uh-oh, this isn't very good. It's genuinely gonna get us if we're not very careful here. Okay. Whew. Next card. Roll first. That's a 3. Okay, phew. Cups. Oh no, cups is hearts. That's a useless card. We don't have any community here. I think I just lost. It depends on what this card is. The 8 of diamonds is the engine. A mistake. So that's the anti-engine. The mistake is the anti-engine firing. I'm going to turn off the timer because I just rolled my last 6 here. So the mistake is the anti-engine. Both of your engineering buddies are horrified at the concept of being squished by this giant robot that their former co-classmate made, and they are like, I don't care if the anti-engine is going to work. We're going to try it anyway. And you're like, no, it's not ready. It's not going to work. And you are unfortunately right. It is not ready. It is not going to work. It needed at least 3, 6, 8 more days of work. It needed 8 more days of work before it could function correctly. And so they heft the anti-engine onto their shoulder because it's a giant emitter thing, and like it takes both of them to hold, and it goes And it just spits out a little cloud of smoke, and it makes a little pathetic coughing sound, like, and and all it does is alert the robot to your existence on the island. It wasn't sure. It was like stalking around the other nearby islands. Like, I know it's on one of these islands. Where the heck are they? And it unfortunately, the sound of the failed anti-engine firing hits its sensors, and it figures out you're there, and it goes, target acquired, and it goes bzzz. It makes like a charging up sound, and you're like, okay, guess that's it. And as the beam approaches the island, the camera freezes, and we won't see the end of the story. Just that certain death bears down upon the group. And that was the Gateshead Engine. I was trying to keep it from getting super, like, terrifying morbid, but it kind of did anyway. I think the anti-engine mechanic needs some work. I think I need to just, like, sit down and actually work out the anti-engine mechanic instead of throwing it together at the last minute. I mean, we got 8 cards away from beating the engine with the current system. So I think making it possible is not difficult. Like, maybe even making it 15 steps instead of 10. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the probabilities of things and consider. But I like the anti-engine concept. I like it a lot. I like the idea of the engine. If the engine spirals out of control, you now have to work under pressure to defeat your own creation. I really like that, and I think it's a mechanic I would want to sit down and introduce to this game. But also, one idea at a time. I need to finish the less grim Wretched and Alone first. But as you can see, we had the 5 of Spades. We had a lot of hearts in the bottom of the deck. We had the 5 of Spades, which is in Tarot Talk. The 5 of Wands, so something would happen to us. And then we'd have a roll, because it was a community card. And then we would have the 6 of Clubs, which is the swords, so something would happen with the authority figure. We'd have a roll, because of the Queen of Hearts there. We'd have a 3, something could happen with authority. The Jack of Diamonds there, something would happen with the machine. We'd have another roll, and then finally, we would have the Knave, Page. We'd have the Page of Authority, would have been the last card to close off our winning streak there. And we were really, really close to defeating the engine here. I really like this. I don't know. I've as you all may know with the... Sorry, I'm going to sort these cards while I talk. As you all may know, with the Wretched and Alone, my main concern was that you really can't win with that. You can kind of sort of win with the Gateshead Engine. There's no, the only defined end... I think the defined ending... Yeah, play until you finish the engine or decide that you want to stop. So, yeah, it's a pretty loose ending. I think the anti-engine should be, an optional rule, you know? For that kind of decide if you want to stop type thing. I think the 1 minute timer would be a lot more pressing if you were handwriting things instead of rapidly speaking to a camera. But it would still be kind of an innovative way to get the time pressure across. Yeah, considering it's like as long as it needs to be normally, it's as long as you can fit in a time constraint when you're under pressure. I like that. I think we just need to refine we need to balance the win condition a little bit. It needs to be a little bit easy. Maybe not even that much easier to win against the engine when you're building the anti-engine. Then again, that really comes down to how far you get into the existing deck. If you draw what's the end of the engine? The Pentacles. So if you draw the King of Pentacles, the engine ends. And so that's when the anti-engine phase passes. If that's super high up, it's really hard to win. And that's fun and all, but I also want it to be, possible to win most of the time. Ooh, maybe you count, we make the anti-engine turn limit, so to speak, a function of the how many turns it took to get you there, so to speak. The kind of thing so that it is always really close. I don't want it to be a walk in the park to build an engine to undo your work, but I also don't want it to be incredibly tooth-grindingly difficult. So maybe you count how many cards it took you to build the engine, and then based on that, that's how long you have to that's how many sixes you need to roll, or that's how much total you need to roll in order to outbuild the existing engine. It would definitely need some balancing. It would need some balancing of the mechanic, but I really like it. If someone wants to take that idea and run with it, just maybe credit me a little bit in there, say inspired by Glacier Nestor. That's all I need. If you make something out of this and I'm not the person making it, just credit me. I don't care if you use my idea as long as I'm credited. But whew, that was the Gateshead engine, and theoretically the anti-Gateshead engine. The Gateshead engine and the undoing of the Gateshead engine. This was by Adam Roy at adnroy.itch.io. Let's summarize the tale while we open this. adnroy. So, let's summarize the tale. So we moved to Bluebell, Arizona. We moved to Bluebell, Arizona. We decided that we were paid to produce this terrifying engine, and after a great deal of struggling, after a great deal of struggle, trying to get to know the community and get to know ourselves and everything. Eventually, the machine came together after a great deal of strain and stress, and then we realized, oh no, this thing is much more dangerous than our original idea intended. Originally, we wanted this to be a very, just kind of a peaceful novelty giant robot, and it spun very quickly into, oh yeah, it's just gonna incapacitate some people, and then, oh no, it has terrifying weapons, and when it got terrifying weapons, it used its sentience, that, by the way, it learned during the process, to go out and cause problems, and we had to very hastily try and put together something that could destroy it. And unfortunately, we weren't fast enough. We were very nearly there. It only needed about 8 days more worth of work before we could have stopped it. But it was just too late. We just didn't get it done in time. And that's the end of Charles Dodley's tale, working for SpaceX in Bluebell, Arizona, and then on a random deserted island. Anyway, this is the link to the website where you can get the Gateshead Engine. I think it's a great time. I think it's a great way to, improvise a story, especially improvise a story in a hurry. It seems like there's some really cool stuff that this person's also made. Particularly interesting, a group storytelling and drawing game about gentle change in a forest grove called Moss Creeps and Stone Crumbles. I Have You Now, a card game about taunting your rival in a giant robot. That would be interesting if you used the Gateshead engine to build the giant robots and then play I Have You Now. Maybe. Anyway, I don't know, I'd have to get I Have You Now for that, and then have, that'd be a really fun crossover stream, have two people play the Gateshead engine, and then play I Have You Now with the Gateshead, with their Gateshead engines? Maybe. I mean, it is free. I Have You Now is anyway. Anyway, that's it, that's all, folks. It's been nearly 2.5 hours. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes by my marker here. And I could do more, but my throat would try to kill me. Speaking of, the Twitter poll that I've had running, it has 1 or 2 more days left on it, I think. Scroll. Let me find out. I'm going to talk about this. It probably won't matter by the time the VOD comes out, but if you're watching live, I encourage you to check this out. I have a Twitter poll going on my Twitter asking about whether y'all want me to stream to YouTube instead of Twitch. Because Twitch is being kind of slimy, and I'm sick of dealing with Twitch being kind of slimy. And I already have to have YouTube's copyright rules in mind when I am streaming anyway, because the VODs go on to YouTube, so why not just stream on YouTube? But I don't want to stream directly to Glacier Nestor. I want to stream to a separate channel, so all those VODs unedited can live out in the world there. And then I could edit down the VODs into more palatable clips, is the idea. Anyway, if you have capital O opinions about that, please let me know on Twitter, just at Glacier Nestor. The poll should be there underneath some retweets. How far underneath some retweets? Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, they might be a little far down. But I promise, it's on the Twitter. If you've got some strong opinions, I heartily suggest you vote about it, to make sure I do what you want. Anyway, I'll keep you all posted. I'll probably, go live on here, or I'll probably, if I'm bailing on Twitch, I'll go live here and make sure the VOD stays up forever, or upload a video or something. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm willing to stay here if you all really want me to still be here, you know. But if people don't mind if I switch platform, I'm gonna jump ship to YouTube. But anyway, whew, uh, Gateshead Engine was a great time tonight, y'all. Let's go say hi to Alternate. Wait, no. Altier has just stopped streaming. Never mind. I lied. We're not gonna go see Altier. Who else is streaming right now? I guess we could watch someone learn how to play Blender. Let's just go say hi to Cheratomo. That's a safe bet. Anyway, I'll see you all later in the week, probably. Definitely keep an eye on Twitter. That's where I'll be telling you the end of this tale. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I had a great night. See y'all later.